Hi everyone. So I made me a new art journal and here I'm showing you how I did this art journal. If you'd like a better, more in-depth explanation, I have already done a video on it and I will link it above if you want to see how to do it slower. But I took the pages out and here I've put gesso onto the front of the book and I'm using stamps to impress into the gesso because I love the way that ends up looking after you get color on it. And here I'm doing the back. Again, I'm putting gesso on it and I will take the stamps and just impress them into the gesso. This does, it's not very good for your stamps to do this. That's why I clean them off immediately after I do it because I don't want to ruin my stamps. Here I'm taking alcohol ink and a piece of cardstock and I'm putting some yellowish color onto the cardstock because I want to do some die cutting and I didn't have anything that I really liked. The papers that I had were a little bit too thin. I needed it thicker. So I was like, well, I'll just make my own. So that's what I've done. And I will use my music stamp to end up making the stamp, the paper that I end up wanting to use on it. Again, just alcohol ink and the distressed ink is what I've used. And there's my stamp. I stamp and then I ghost stamp so that I have a dark and then I have a light color. And those were the things I wanted to die cut. And here I'm using Indian ink. I'm using blue, the magenta, and the yellow to put on the front of my book. And I will just continue to layer it onto the book to get the colors that I want. This was a very long process to do this, but in the end I loved the way that it turned out. I'll use my heat gun to kind of have it to give it a different look. And sometimes I would let it just dry naturally. And here I'm taking my distressed ink, the vintage photo, and just putting it on the edges. And here I'm taking my brown pit marker and I'm putting it on the edges as well. I could have done this after I put all the coloring on. But I don't know, I don't think it really much matter if I did it now or if I waited to do it after I put more brown into the book. I wanted it to kind of look like a vintage book. So that's why I'm ending up putting brown onto it. And with the gesso on there, it will smudge. It smears easily. But the colors were not bright enough for me. They were still a little pale, even though I really did like it. I could have just left it alone and not have put the brown around it, and I think it would have been really pretty like that. But I did want it more of a vintage look. And here again, I'm just putting more and more of the Indian ink on it. And I add a little water to it as well to kind of help it along. And the more ink you put, the more color you put, the more of those stamps into the gesso they will end up popping up, and it is really pretty. And I do end up using brown Indian ink as well. And see, the blue and the yellow end up making the green, so I don't have to use green because it's making it itself, and I thought that was a pretty green. And here the purple and the blue, I mean not purple, but the magenta and blue makes this pretty purple. And here I'm saturating it a lot because I wanted it really bright, and I'm using water with it as well. And there again, using the heat gun, it gives it that splattered looking effect. I thought that looked really cool. And again, I'm spraying brown on it there to try to, you know, make it look more like a vintage book. That was the yellow. Here I'm just splattering a little bit of white Indian ink on it. Kind of lighten it up a little bit. Kind of give it more of highlights. Excuse me, didn't mean to cough. And here again, I'm just putting on some blue and some of the pink, just trying to darken it up some. I wanted it a little bit darker. And here I'm just taking pure Indian ink out of the bottle, putting it on the edge, and then spraying it with water. And it gives that really cool effect, like it's running down the page. Again, using my heat gun to help dry it and help give it a splattered look. And I'll do that throughout. I'll just put the ink on the edges and spray water on it. And I would take a paper towel and mop up a little bit of some of the ink that was staying. So I did that again, and I believe I let that dry naturally. I don't think I used the heat gun. Oh, well, there, I told a fib. Yeah, I did. Thought there was one part that I did just leave, and I let it dry naturally. It took me a couple of days to do this. It took me all day, actually, because some I would let it dry by itself, so. And now I'm just taking, after that, I thought it looked good. It's vintagey looking enough. So I took some stamps. And I've learned my lesson with these stamps that I'm going to go ahead and dry them so they won't smear, the memento stamps. So I'm just using the brown. And then there I'm using embossing powder because I kind of wanted it to really pop on the back. There, I'm cleaning up. And here I'm just taking my stencil and gold acrylic paint. I thought that ended up being really pretty with that brown. I thought it just popped. And here I have a little butterfly that I wanted to try to use. And I'm using, at first I'm trying the alcohol ink there, and it kind of was like, ugh. So then I switched to the memento and put it on my palette paper and then just used a sponge to do that. And again, I don't think I dried that. I didn't, now that I'm watching. And now I know why it, when I put my medium over it, it's going to smear a little bit. And now I know why, because I did not heat set it. So, lesson learned, heat set. And there I'm just using, you know, I'm going to emboss that as well. It's a little key stamp. And here are my little die cuts that I used out of that paper. And again, this pigment ink, you have to heat set it or it will smear. That much I do know. But the paper that I made, I die cutted those 3 things out of it. And again, I'm using the pigment ink, so I have to use the heat gun on it. And now I'm just taking the vintage photo color from the distressed ink and just going around it just to make it pop a little bit on the edges there. And I took water and sprayed it to distress it. And here I thought this was so cute, so I tore it out of the page to give it a torn look. And I will adhere that with matte medium. And here is where I go over the blue of the butterfly and it smeared a little. And I'm like, where did that come from? And now I know. And now I'll put the 3. I'll do my name in the modeling paste. It was kind of hard on that little bitty stencils there to do that. And of course, because I'm impatient, I have to use the heating gun. It really was difficult with that little bitty stencil to do that. And here I'll just use matte medium and adhere the clock and the lock and the key down. And then I wanted to go over the whole entire book with matte medium, just to make sure that because I will be doing, art stuff in it, and I just wanted to protect it, is why I went ahead and put a coat of matte medium over it. And here I'm just going over the die cut things to just set them into the book. I'm giving it shadow with my brown Pitt pen. And I'll also go around the bird cutout, or and my name as well. I'm just taking my finger and smearing it. As long as, you have a few seconds to do that, as long as you have it on a non-porous item. And I didn't think that it was dark enough. Well, there I'm just highlighting the bird and the leaves, just trying to make it pop a little bit more on the page. And here I'm using my gold pen to go over my name. And here I'm using blue. I really wanted my name to pop out a little bit more, so I'm going to use the blue and the red, since those are the colors that were in the book too. And now I felt like the die cut things were not really set back enough, so I'm going over them again with the blue to try to make it a little bit darker. And I thought that ended up looking really good, to make it look like it's set more, into the page. And now I'm just taking my white gel pen and I'm giving a little bit of highlights onto the die cut, and I will do it with my name as well. And here I'm just showing a close-up of the book. I love the way that it came out. Now I'm going to put the pages in, and I used 20 pages. And there is going to be the inside of my book, and because one page was not big enough, I had to cut 2 in half, but I will end up overlapping one over the right one over the left one, just to make it flow cohesively. And I do use glue all to put it down. I'm using the brush just to put it down there to smooth it over. And I'll end up going over this with some matte medium. just to protect it. There's a cute little saying, and I just used matte medium over it and then used my black pit marker to set it in. And here I'm going with my brown pit marker on the edges of the book, since the book was white before. Here, after it dried, I went ahead and cut the bottoms off of the book. I thought it turned out super cute. And again, I'm just going around it with my brown pit marker, just so it looks more cohesive. And I will end up taking the 20 sheets of paper. And here I thought I needed to do that, but I do not. That's not what I needed to do. I just needed to fold the sheets in half. And it worked out perfectly where I didn't have to cut anything. So that was yay. So to make my signatures, I'm going to have 4 signatures with 5 pages in each of them. And you paper clip it just to hold it for you. It makes it a lot easier. So I'll do that for 5 signatures. Or 4 signatures rather, sorry. And here I'm making a template to, and that went wonky, to know where to put my holes. And for some reason, when I first did this, what I'm doing is I'm finding the center, and then from there, I'm kind of centering it from there as well. So there's my template. That's where I will put my holes. And why I did that part, I have no idea. That was too far up. So the other ones I did correctly. I don't know. I guess I was having a little bit of a brain fart right then, and I won't realize it until I start putting my signatures in. That top row is way too high. I don't know what I was thinking. So here you just use the template, and you use your awl, and you just put your holes through your paper. Just like I used the awl to put, and those were like a ½ centimeter, the holes. And then you're going to take your string, which I ended up taking white string and using tea to stain it to give it more of a tannish color, because I didn't want it stark white. So I ended up tea staining it, and that's where I realized those holes are way too up on the top. Again, if you want more detail on how to do this, I do have another video that is slower that explains it. So I'm just putting the string through to tie the signatures, and I will do that for all 4 signatures. It's the first time I've ever done tea staining, and I thought it turned out pretty cute, pretty okay. It was really easy. Just put a tea bag in and some water and put the string in it, and I let it sit in there for probably 15 minutes, and then took it out. I probably could have left it in longer, but I wanted it more of a tannish color, so I think it worked out fine. And it's cotton string, so it's what you crochet with. I'm pretty sure it's cotton. It was my mom's. I always like to have a little bit of my mom in stuff that I do. And after this, it will be finished. I love this journal. I love the way that it turned out. I am obsessed with it almost, I think. I'm almost afraid to even do anything in it. It looks so pretty. So I cannot wait to start doing some of my mixed media art stuff in it. And there it is. Just giving you a little view of it. Well, y'all, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that it inspired you to create your own journal. It's really easy to do. Again, if you want a more detailed how-to, I do have a video of that, and I will link it for you. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. I truly appreciate it. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and share it and subscribe. To all my subscribers, thanks for supporting me. All right, y'all, be good to one another, and I will talk to y'all later. Thanks for watching, y'all. Bye.